friends, we are back with another Sunday dinner. It is week 45 and here is what we'll be making today. We're starting this week off with lobster cocktails, then moving to a boiled leg of mutton with caper sauce. We're pairing that with peas in carrot cups, sweet potato and bananas, a beet salad, and then we're finishing off with cold Norwegian pudding for dessert. Of course, we're having coffee again. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. My name is Ashley. I'm a registered dietitian, and we are combining my two favorite things, vintage and food, and we're bringing you the 52 Sunday Dinners Project. I found this cookbook, the 52 Sunday Dinners from Women's World magazine in 1924. So just about 100 years ago. This came in a series of several other different books, and when looking over the recipes for this, I thought just the format of the recipes and the foods that they had back then were so different and so cool. I wanted to try to recreate all of these recipes, and I thought it was just too special to keep to myself, so I'm bringing all of you along with me. In a previous dinner episode, I had mentioned that the leg of mutton that I had tried to track down, I'd gone several different places. We went to the Strip District in Pittsburgh, and we went to every different store on the Strip that could have it, and nobody had a leg of mutton. They all had lamb, which my understanding of what the butchers in my area told me is that lamb is a year or younger. Mutton is 1 to 2 years old. So I assume that flavor is maybe a little bit more developed than what a regular leg of lamb would be. However, I resorted to looking online because I couldn't find any in person. And I believe the one I told you about was $200. That was the leg of lamb I had originally planned on purchasing. However, I found another one that was a little bit cheaper, and with shipping it ended up being, I think, $109. Well, fast forward to now, and I believe that was probably a scam. The website looks legitimate. They have a Facebook page, an Instagram. Everything looks pretty legit, but I was maybe not doing my due diligence and did not check the reviews of this website before. So, long story short, that was out. So what we're using today, we're kind of back to square one. Thankfully, there was a grocery store. It actually happened to be a Walmart about an hour away from my house. So I went there at I think I left my house about 9:30 last night, got out there just in time to get this lamb, and I'll show you the options here, what they had. They had lamb breast, they had a marinated leg, they had lamb shanks. I really wasn't sure which one I should go with, and so we decided to go with the lamb shanks, and hopefully it's at least close to what this leg of mutton would have kind of tasted like back in the day. With all that said, let's get our aprons and get into the kitchen. Now, this recipe is confusing me a bit. Nowhere does it say anything about using the prunes. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to just keep these prunes aside and it's the tea of the prunes we're supposed to use, or if we should be using the pulp of the prunes. So I did Google this again, and the recipes don't seem super clear there either, but the ones that I've found online do mention using the pulp of these prunes. Some of them mention just chopping them into little pieces. Some of them mention running them through a sieve. So we are going to go ahead and assume that all of the women back then would have known to put this prune pulp back in, and we're going to use it for this. Looking at this pudding now, as soon as the cornstarch went in, it got extremely thick. And with the prunes in there, I don't know that I foresee this pudding getting clear. So it leads me to believe maybe I was not supposed to put the prunes in. Maybe it was supposed to just be the prune water. But again, I'm really not sure what exactly this recipe wants. I also think 30 minutes of cooking this is really going to thicken up and dry it out, and I don't know if I was supposed to add some of the other water or all of the other water back into this, but I think I'm going to leave it, not add any more water, and we're gonna cook it for the 30 minutes that it says to cook it. It's been cooking maybe about 5 minutes already, but we'll cook it for the remainder unless it seems like it'll really ruin it. Look at the size of this thing. It's humongous. Anyhow, I'm going to use the tips that all of you have given me about scoring potatoes before putting them into the water, because I imagine a potato this size will be very difficult to skin after it comes out. This thing, yeah, it just fits in there. Holy Toledo. I might need to get a bigger... Look at that thing. Oh my. All right, let's give this lunker a little more space. It's time to try everything, and I have been fighting myself this whole time not to sample some of this stuff. The lemon caper sauce smells so good. These sweet potatoes, I've just been wanting to kind of taste everything the whole time, but I have refrained. So the first thing we're going to try is the lobster. Now, I have had lobster when I was younger, and I was never really a fan. I am a big fan of a shrimp cocktail, so like this cocktail sauce with shrimp. I really, really like that, but I don't know if I'll like it with the lobster. I know lobster is supposed to be a delicacy that everyone likes, so we'll see how this one tastes. I don't have an oyster fork. I have regular forks. I have these little appetizer things, and I don't know which is closer, so I think just to have some fun here and be a little different, I think I'm going to try and eat this with my little appetizer fork. I put it in a little wine glass here. I thought it looked fancier, and this seems to be a fancier meal compared to maybe some other ones. So I put it in this fancy little glass. So let's give it a try. The cocktail sauce smells really good. I'm going to say for myself, that's just kind of okay. I think it's just not my thing. More for you. So if you were having this meal with me, you could eat all the lobster and I could eat whatever you don't like. This might be really pleasant for somebody else, but just for me, I'm going to say this is kind of a hard pass for me. Next, we have our leg of mutton with our adorable little cups here. I think those are so cute, and I decorated the edges with the leftover peas as well. The cups definitely took a lot of effort. This is the second week in a row that we have had lamb, and at first I was thinking, well, it would have made better sense. What we should have done is served this lamb first and then use the leftovers of it to make the Scotch broth next week, or this week, I guess. And then I really got to thinking about, I guess, refrigeration and everything back then. Would this lamb, would they have had freezers to freeze this lamb back then for it to still be good the following week? And the answer is probably no. Boiling this, when it came out at first, it just looked it looked a little gray on the outside. It did not look very appetizing, and I was a little concerned it was going to be overcooked. Once I cut into it, it looked like it was a nice medium rare, closer to medium. And I think I mentioned before also, I don't know that I love lamb. I can't say that it's my favorite thing, but I don't really dislike it. I normally think of lamb with maybe a mint jelly or something, but this lemon caper sauce is a departure from what I associate lamb with, but I'm excited to try it. You know what? That's really good. Thinking about boiling meat, and like if you were to tell me you wanted to boil a steak or chicken or something like that and serve it straight out of the boiled water without roasting it or anything, like browning it or anything like that, I would think you were maybe a little bit nuts. The texture of this is great. The flavor's good. And it pairs really well with that lemon caper sauce. When I saw this recipe, boiling a leg of mutton seemed really unappealing, but the results of it, again, the last couple weeks, I have been pleasantly surprised with some of this stuff. Now, let's go for our adorable little carrot cups. Would anybody like a shot? It just tastes like peas and carrots, but it's really cute. It's a really fun way to serve them. For this amount of cuteness and the novelty of this, it was a lot of time and very meticulous, tiny work to not break these little tiny thin cups open and somehow get the carrot meat out of the middle. So would I really do this again? Probably not, but doing it right now and seeing it, the novelty of it is really cute. Now for the sweet potatoes and bananas. Again, a combination today that seems a little bit strange. Who would put bananas on sweet potatoes? Although if you think of some of our traditional Thanksgiving recipes now, there's always that sweet potato or yam casserole with marshmallows on top, or, you know, kind of weird things like that. So are bananas really that big of a departure? Probably not. The caramelization on those bananas smells delicious. This is the one I've been fighting so hard not to try ahead of time. It smells so good. Yeah, banana and sweet potato, that goes together well. I feel like you could make this into a pie. Like if you put the sweet potatoes as the filling and the bananas on top and brown them like that, I'm surprised with the rest of these recipes and the use of walnuts in them. I'm really surprised that they didn't put walnuts in this, because I feel like just the flavors and the textures, walnuts would have paired really well with this. But yeah, this 1920s sweet potatoes and bananas, weird today, but man, this is another one. I don't know why we kind of got away from doing this. This is delicious. Now is our beet salad. And I've noticed that the salad seems to be the last course before dessert in most of these menus. Today, or at least what I'm used to, and what you see in commonly in restaurants now here in America, is that the salad is one of the first courses. So you might have a little appetizer or other starter if you're having several courses, but then the salad comes out before your main dish. And here it's kind of the opposite. And again, if you've watched some of the past videos, you know that I really love beets, so I already know, or at least I'm pretty sure, I'm going to love this salad. This is a humongous bite. Let's get a more camera-friendly bite on here. Yeah, it's delicious. For this salad, I used a commercial French dressing instead of making my own. And I forgot how much I really enjoy French dressing. And I normally don't think I would have paired it with beets. I would have paired some sort of a balsamic vinegar with a beet salad. But this French dressing goes really well with this. And I don't think you could do anything wrong with beets. I think you could put beets on basically any food on the planet and it would be delicious. Don't worry, that's a common occurrence in my house. I forgot to turn the fan on while I was drying my cast iron pan, and the house protested. Anyhow, now to our dessert. I acknowledge that it kind of looks, maybe not the most beautiful of puddings, but I don't know. I actually think it's really pretty. Brown is my favorite color, and so some people might look at this and think it looks like something after a meal and not the meal, but I think it's quite beautiful. And it's supposed to be, the recipe says to cook it until it's clear. So again, I'm not really sure if we were supposed to use the prune puree. Holy moly, try and say that. Oh, prune puree. I don't know if we were supposed to use it because this is definitely not clear. It's definitely a pretty solid, brown, opaque pudding, but let's give it a try. It smells very cinnamony. It smells wonderful. Prunes remind me a lot of dates, and I'm sure many of you probably feel the same way a little bit. The texture, the flavor, all of it, I think are pretty similar, and this smells like something that you would be making with dates. Oh, the top definitely looks up here. It looks very pudding or gel-like. There's a nice sheen to that. It's very smooth if you're looking at it. Oh, wow. That is good. I was afraid it was going to be overly sweet because prunes are already a little bit sweet and we added all of that sugar to it, but it is not. And the texture of that, it is so smooth. It's thick, smooth, nice and cool, but then with the walnuts, it has that crunch in there. This is great. We've been sleeping on this too. While I readily admit some of these recipes I think kind of belong back in 1924. They died back then. They should stay there. Some of these recipes we never should have lost. This prune, maybe this is something that people eat normally in other parts of the world, and maybe even some of you in America still make this, but it is something I have never had in my life, and I am sad for myself that it's taken 36, I think I'm 36 this year, 36 years to try this. Ooh. I've been sharing my leftovers with different people because I don't want my food to go to waste, but I don't know that I'm going to share this with anyone. I might just keep this to myself. I have a feeling I'm going to regret. Yeah, I think I'm not going to eat this entire thing because I may regret that in some number of hours eating this whole thing of prune pudding, but it's going to be hard to stop eating it. Oh, that was a delicious meal. I've said it the last couple weeks, these fall meals just keep getting better and better. And while looking at the menu, to me, I thought this one looked just so strange for what I'm used to. The combination of everything was just, it went together so well and everything was delicious. Outside of the lobster cocktail, I thought everything just hit it out of the park this week. Nutrition-wise, this was probably the best meal yet. And I might keep saying that, and I might keep forgetting some of the other meals that we're having, but today, as I just finished this up, you start off really strong with a nice lean protein in that lobster cocktail, and then move on to lamb shanks, which again, very high in protein, also pretty high in fat, depending on which area of the lamb that you're getting and eating from. And it kind of depends. You might have more protein than fat in an area that you slice that doesn't have a lot of the fat on the side. But if you get a piece that has a lot of that fat on there, obviously you're going to have more fat than you are protein. You pair that with the peas and the carrot cups, and you have two different vegetables there. And that's just the start of the vegetables. You then pair that next to the mashed sweet potatoes with bananas. You have two of those vegetables that are really high in beta carotene. And then the bananas as well. You have a decent amount of potassium in bananas and in potatoes. From all three of those vegetables and that fruit to your next salad, so then you have your nice leafy greens with the beets on top of that. You have an array of colors. We have orange, we have green, we have red. All of our vegetables, we're getting a nice colors of the rainbow here. And I think last week we talked a little bit about how kind of beige our meal was. This week, the colors are everywhere. For dessert, instead of something that is really delicious but maybe contains a lot of empty calories, we have this prune pudding. And it's made from, yes, dried fruit, but it's still fruit. You're packing that dessert full of fiber that you wouldn't have had in maybe a cookie or a cake or something else like that. Overall, this meal was fantastic, both nutrition-wise, flavor-wise, all over the place. It was just an absolute win, I think. Now, I don't know what prices were like on lobster and mutton, those sorts of things 100 years ago in 1924. We talked already about the price of the lamb. And lobster is notoriously kind of a luxury food now. It's considered maybe a more expensive meal. So this meal, if I would have made it for 6 people, and I know I said I was going to start calculating prices on this. It's really tough to do that because some of the foods I already have in my pantry and maybe some of them I purchased before prices went up. If I had to put my best guess on how much this menu cost this time, I look back, the most expensive parts of the meal are going to be the lamb shanks, which were surprisingly less expensive than I expected. They were, let's see, I have my receipt here. For those, they were $23.